How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the UKnowAdamTsang podcast, where you get to know a little bit more about people, their passions, and all things business. Today, I have Kyle Briley on the show, who is the president of the Georgia Canine Foundation.
That's right.
And he is someone that I've actually known for quite some time now. Kyle, welcome to the show.
I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, Kyle, tell me a little bit about kind of like who you are, how you grew up, and I guess a little bit more about like the things that you do.
Sure. So my name's Kyle Briley. I've been working at the Statesboro Police Department for the past 12 years. I've been a handler for about 6, and the president of the Georgia Police Canine Foundation for about 4.
Okay.
Yep.
So was that something that was always a passion of yours, or did you always like kind of like working with dogs? Did you know that this was something that you wanted to move towards?
So before I got into law enforcement, I kind of knew that I wanted to get involved in some type of specialized unit, more like a drug unit. But when I was coming through different special assignments, I kind of looked at like the handlers and saw that it was pretty cool, and then started asking them questions and training with them, and then eventually put in for it and got it.
Very nice, very
Yep.
nice. So you had been working with canines for a while at this point before you became the president of the Georgia Foundation.
Right. So I was a handler for about 2 years, and then I started the foundation.
Okay, so tell me about. So you are the founding member of
Right.
the Georgia Canine Foundation.
Yes, sir.
And what is it that they do?
So what we do is we assist active and retired law enforcement canines. There's a huge gap. I think people right now, especially with everything that's going on, can see that training for just general law enforcement is kind of lacking in some areas and in some departments.
Mhm.
It's no different than within the canine. And something interesting that people don't know much about is Georgia, the state of Georgia, does not have standards set for canines. So there's no state certification for canines, but you can go get certified through a national organization.
Interesting.
Yeah, but the state of Georgia doesn't require it. It's the agencies, like my department requires us to certify annually with our dogs, but the
Okay.
state doesn't require it at all.
Okay, so are we just a little bit behind in the state of Georgia in regards to like kind of like the implementation of this type of certification, or what's happening there?
Right, I wouldn't really say that we're behind. There's a lot of states that don't have it. When it's not in existence, and then you want to put it in existence, a lot of politics and egos get involved,
Understood.
in law enforcement in general. And then when you start breaking it down in specialized units or specialized divisions, a lot of people have it their way, their only way, a lot of different opinions. So I'm sure the state has considered it, but they
Yeah.
kind of want to go about it the politically correct way.
So the foundation, I guess, is a way for you to kind of like bring awareness to the topic, right? I
Right. So
mean,
we bring awareness to all types of topics. Like
Okay.
we provide ballistic vests for dogs to help protect them while they're
Oh, that's
out
cool.
there working. Heat alarm systems, which is what I had to go check when
Sure.
right before we got started. It keeps the temperature at a degree where the dog is comfortable within the car. And then we're also able to supply them with handlers with like training, proper training, and training equipment, because it's not just like what you see on YouTube or any other social media outlet where you just send a dog and they go bite someone. It's cool to see, but there's a lot of technique,
Of
a lot of
course.
different equipment that goes into that, and we want to make sure that the teams at least throughout the state of Georgia, are getting the proper training and the training equipment.
So one of the questions I have, I guess, for you is like, before so you were a handler for a period of time, about 2 years before you started the foundation.
Mhm.
What encouraged you to start that foundation?
So whenever I get involved in something, I try to make a difference or be part of something that uh, will be more than what actually is.
Sure.
And I just saw that there was a little bit of some lack of awareness within the canine community. We first wanted to help retired canines, because
Sure.
what happens is after a dog retires, most of the time the handler will take on the responsibility for the dog, and with that comes the financial responsibility.
Hmm.
And my personal opinion is that the dog has served the community, and most of the time when they retire, it's because of issues that happened at work, like work-related issues over a
Understood.
period of time, like hip dysplasia or something like that. Like they have hip issues.
Hmm.
Well, that came from working,
Hmm.
and so I've personally felt that the city or the county or whoever should assist with this dog after the fact. And so whenever we started doing that, like raising awareness about retired canines, I saw that a lot of people wanted to know more about dogs in general,
Hmm.
all the way from how they're trained all the way up to when they retire.
So take me through like a typical day. This your canine, which is the name
Rio.
Rio.
Hmm.
The Rio, which who you were, I guess he stays with you. Does he live with
Right.
at your house?
Yeah, he does.
And then so every day when you're going to work, you just kind of like get him ready too, and then take him to work, and he's always just by your side.
Right.
Okay.
He's right there with me 24/7. There are some agencies out there that
Uh
don't
huh.
have it like that, but I'd say 99% do, to where they're pretty much your partner and they're with you 24/7.
And
Stay
you
at the house and
and you
everything.
form like that real close bond with.
Right.
I mean, because you're with him like
Right.
pretty
All
much
the
all the
time.
time.
Hmm.
How is that? Is Rio at work different than Rio at home?
Way different.
Really?
Yeah, he has a switch. When he's at home, he's sleeping a lot. He's
Uh
just
huh.
napping. When he's at work, he's always looking out the window, ready to work, ready to do
And
something.
you mentioned switch. Is that something that is trained into these canines?
Some dogs have it,
Uh
and
huh.
some dogs are just 24/7, 100% all the
All
time.
work.
Yeah.
Okay.
So mine, he's a single purpose narcotics detection dog. So he doesn't have that crazy drive like
Hmm.
some of these other dogs do.
Very nice. That's awesome that this foundation has been kind of founded to kind of bring in awareness to the community. For you, when you kind of like approach this, I see a lot of content that's actually being created on your end. What is the kind of like motivation behind that? So, for example, I saw the one where you're kind of like going through the different rooms and you're doing all these
Right.
activities with the dog kind of like just on the arm. What is that kind of like for?
So for that particular video,
Sure.
so are you talking about the one the arm one? Which one was that?
Yeah, so the dog, I don't know how to the
Yeah.
proper term is, latches onto the arm and then you
Uh-huh.
have to
Oh,
sweep
the
up the
challenge.
ball
Okay.
and
Yeah.
then you
Yeah.
have to shoot something. Is that
Yeah.
just like to kind of like, showcase what these dogs are capable of, or what's the
So that in particular video that's not what we do every training day, right?
uh-huh.
That was just to kind of break up like a normal, typical training day of going through the things. But in that video, a lot of, if you know anything about dog training, you'll kind of see that we were putting them through not stress in a bad way, but they do have to perform under stress, and so do handlers. And so for the handlers sweeping up the thing with a dog attached to you. Now, 100% of the time, hopefully the dog is not their own dog's not biting them and they're
Sure,
having to
sure,
sweep
of
anything or
course.
do
Of
perform any
course.
activity, but it puts them under stress and allows them to work through things because we face stress every single day, and
Of
so does the
course.
dog. And so for the dog, it's getting the dog acclimated to different environments. There was different tile flooring, like carpet tile, dark rooms, noises opening the bottles and everything like that to get the dog to stay on the bite, to stay there, and to work through it with the handler.
Mhm.
So
Very nice. I also saw that, I went on the website, took a look around, and
mhm.
there's actually products that you guys sell.
Right.
So what is I mean, do you treat, the Canine Foundation pretty much as kind of like a entity that's constantly trying to bring money into the organization?
Right. So we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We run based off of donations.
Okay.
And so we offer merchandise in exchange for donations, so it's not quote unquote merchandise, but it's an appreciation gift back to those who want to donate X amount on the shop that we have on the website.
I got you. And then you treat it kind of like as a pretty much like a business, right? There's kind of like certain things that you have to do to make sure that all those things are working for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is, I can't speak on running a business, but
Sure.
this takes up a lot of time, and
Hmm.
there's a lot of background work that's happening between myself and the board members. There's one in particular board member. She's like the operations manager. She pretty much runs the day to day stuff that allows me to do this kind of stuff and to reach out to handlers and stuff. And her name's Tracy Mallory. I always have to give her a shout out for all the hard work that she does because we're an all volunteer organization.
Okay.
So I have this job, and then she has a working, a work that she goes to, and then she also,
It's time donated.
yeah, it's time donated.
Okay. For you, this is going to be a fun question. Do you prefer, I guess, canines, or do you prefer working with people?
Dogs.
Really?
Yeah, yeah,
And why is that the case?
yeah. Dogs are a little bit more predictable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. People, I think, at the
Yeah.
very least, are very, very unpredictable.
Yeah. I like people, but
Yeah.
dogs are a little bit more predictable, and you can read them a little bit, and you kind of know what's about to happen. So
Understood.
yeah.
Understood. Challenges with kind of like starting a nonprofit.
hmm
What did you kind of like encounter when you were going through this process?
Right. So it's funny that you asked that because when I first developed this idea in my head, I took it to somebody who was a little higher rank than I was to just
Hmm.
make sure that everybody was on the same page. And I'm going to summarize it, but basically that person told me that it wasn't going to make it. Right.
Okay.
So, and that running a nonprofit's more than what you think. And I mean, it came from a good place,
Sure.
but it came off probably I probably perceived it in a way that it probably shouldn't have been perceived. But the challenges were to overcome people saying that it wasn't going to be anything
Sure.
and that it was new. So whenever I would address this with handlers who I don't know, like in other agencies and other counties, once again going back to the ego thing, right?
Hmm.
So they would kind of feel a little hesitant, like, "Oh, who's this guy? I don't know him. He's only been a handler for 2, 3 years at the time. Is he trying to like take over how we do things? Is he trying to change the way that we do things?" And that's not the case. We're not trying to do that. We're just trying to make sure everybody's on the same page and moving forward to the right place where Canine needs to be.
Hmm.
And over a couple years, those same people are now the biggest supporters. So I don't care. I
Understood.
don't care what time they hop on the train. Right?
Hmm.
They're on the train now, and that's what we need.
That's awesome. It's interesting that someone, initially when you bring this idea to said no, this is not something that you want to be involved with. I
Mm.
think, a lot of times in business and different things that we all like want to achieve, that dream is like what we want.
Right.
And for somebody to kind of like say, "Hey, like are you sure this is what you want?" And for you to fight through that, I think is
Right.
huge because obviously he has, I'm imagining that this person had experience on you.
Right. A lot of experience, and especially on paper, he had more experience. But maybe it was the way that I presented it. It
Mhm.
was kind of all over the place at the
Sure.
beginning. I'm sure people, when they have their ideas, it's just kind of all over. And then whenever we were able to tighten that up, and I was able to get a good, strong board with me, like the
Mhm.
board members, we've been doing really well since then.
So is anybody that's a canine handler automatically part of the association, or how does that work?
Right, so everybody's part of it, like
Okay.
community members and canine handlers. Whoever wants to be part is 100% allowed in, right?
Okay.
So we try to differentiate. I can't say that word. We
That's
try to
okay.
be a little different
Uh-huh.
than an association because we don't want to separate ourselves from the community. We want the
Understood.
community to back us up as well.
What is the dream, the ultimate dream of the Georgia Canine Association?
Yeah, so it's a little odd to say this, but essentially, in the end, and it's so far away, is that we wouldn't have to exist,
Mm.
right? So essentially, what a perfect world is that each agency is funding their canine units properly,
Mhm.
and that each canine handler is getting the proper training and training equipment, and that the dogs are taken care of after retirement. And we have a long way to go, but
Sure.
it's going that way.
How many canine handlers are there in the state of Georgia?
We don't have a set number, but it's well over 1,000 that I can think of.
And has that grown since that you've been around the organization itself?
Right. So when I became a handler for the city of Statesboro,
Mhm.
it was just me.
Okay.
And now through the years, I'm not saying contributing to the work that I did or the foundation did, but as we were raising awareness, 6 years ago it was just me being a handler, and now including the campus that we have here, Georgia Southern, there's a total between us, the county, and the Georgia Southern dogs. There's 8.
Wow.
So within 6 years, we've gone from 1 to 8.
So why do you feel like there's been kind of like a resurgence of, is it resurgence or is this just the beginning of canine handling?
Well, I think that people are starting to see like the deterring factor of just the dogs being there is good in itself, but then
Mhm.
the dog pays for itself within a year. You can't put a price tag. We have a dog, Canine Smokey, who's a bloodhound, and he's found like 1 or 2 missing people within a
Wow.
year that he's been. So I mean, you can't really put a price tag on what these dogs are capable of doing,
Sure.
right? And so you can argue about the detection side and the narcotics and if they should be legal or not, but you know regardless, you can't put a price tag on what these dogs are able to do.
And are they usually so the application of canines are really in the realm of, I guess, drug detection, I guess missing persons.
Mhm.
What other things do they kind of like cover?
So with the tracking and finding missing persons, Smokey's a bloodhound, so he doesn't have apprehension biting,
Hmm.
right? But we have other
Oh,
dogs that
okay.
also apprehend. And so we're asking these dogs to go in under certain circumstances to apprehend these violent criminals that are out there.
Hmm.
But we also have dogs for Georgia Southern that are bomb dogs.
Okay.
So they sweep the stadiums and they sweep, of course, COVID going on right now. But essentially, whenever they have these large social gatherings, these
They
dogs
do a
are able
sweep.
to sweep and keep everybody safe beforehand
That's
and during.
awesome. Take me through kind of like maybe the history, because I'm not so familiar with
Mhm.
the history of canines being used in law enforcement. Is this something that's I guess newer and like a new thing or?
No, so it's been around for a long time. I just think that it hasn't been put out there, right? And so
Hmm.
social media has grown, which has allowed us to push it more out there. But it's kind of sad to hear whenever I talk to people in different communities, and they're like, "Well, I didn't even know we had a canine program." People love dogs, and they want to know that we
Absolutely.
have dogs. Like they see police officers and they see sheriff, and they're happy. Firefighters, everybody, first responders,
That's
they're
right.
all happy to see them. But there's something about a dog that people really want to know,
Hmm.
and I think it's a disservice to not being put out there and telling your community that you have these dogs that are protecting people as well.
That's huge. For you, what are the things that you continue to hope to achieve? What's next for the association?
I just for now see that we want to continue to grow with our mission and raising awareness throughout the state of Georgia, because without having that awareness there, people don't really buy in.
Hmm.
They don't really understand what they're buying into if you don't show them what these dogs are capable of or what we're doing to make these dogs better. So we're going to continue to put out content, and we're going to
Hmm.
continue to try to raise awareness. And you can follow us on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube.
Hmm.
And those are our three major platforms. We have a website, but we don't put out a lot of content on there. It's just a generic information which will lead you to those other things and talk about the Canine Memorial we have. So
Hmm.
the website is gpk9f.org, and that's the letter K and then the number 9
Okay.
f.org.
Very nice. Dogs is something that's really fun. I think people are naturally drawn to dogs just in general.
Right.
But a dog in law enforcement is just like that next level. So I think what you're doing for, I guess, the community is amazing. Thank you so much for protecting everybody that lives in Statesboro and I guess across the state.
Right.
In your mind, is there an organization out there that you kind of like watch and try to emulate? So like, is there another canine foundation that you say, okay, these guys are doing it right?
Well, there are a lot of different groups, like agencies that are doing it right. They have
Hmm.
the right program. So Cherokee County of North Georgia, they're doing a lot of good things. And one of the best things that they have going on is that when the dog retires, they maintain pretty much like it's city or county property per se, but the handler is allowed to have custody of that dog, and
Mm.
they pay for the vet bills and all
Oh
that
wow.
after they retire. So they have that going on really well. There's a lot of agencies out there that are training the correct way,
Okay.
and I could name a bunch of them, but there's a Cherokee. I just highlight Cherokee because they do the retirement thing, which is something that a lot of agencies don't do.
Hmm. These dogs, when they come to you, do they already have a lot of these? I don't want to say skill sets like already installed, and like,
Right.
do they already understand that how to
Mhm.
approach certain things?
So, with the way that my agency handles it is that we go to what we refer to as like a kennel, and the best way I can describe what a kennel is like it would be like a Walmart or a whatever shopping center that you want to refer to with dogs that are available that are what we refer to as imprinted.
Hmm.
Basically, they have 70 to 80% complete. They're pretty much complete
Hmm.
with whatever specific job you want them to do, and then usually the handler, whoever takes that dog, will get go to a school with a dog and then finish up that last little percent to build that bond,
Mm.
to figure out if there's any type of environmental issues with the dog or whatever the situation is.
Do they? So does the dog choose the handler, or does the handler
Yeah.
choose the dog?
I would say it's both,
Uh-huh.
right? So you got to go with somebody that knows kind of what they're looking for, because you can go down there and be like, well, I want that dog because the dog looks good, but that dog might not have the personality of the handler,
Interesting.
right? So we went recently. It wasn't recently, but the last dog that we picked for the county. It was a first time handler, and there was a really good dog there, but there was another really good dog there, pretty much equal, right? But the other dog fit more well with the handler, size wise and personality wise. And
Interesting.
yeah, so if the handler had like a ton of experience, he probably could have handled. I probably wouldn't have been able to handle the one dog that was really good, because he was so big and so massive, and just very, very alpha. So,
Yeah.
but the dog that we picked was just as good. It was
Sure.
just a good combination, a good fit.
So how do you watch for that interact? Is it just kind of like, when you're, playing with the dog, if there's like that chemistry there, or specifically are you looking for in those
Right. So
cases?
first, we're looking to see if the dog's able to perform
Mhm.
the duties, and we put them through a couple different tests that we specifically look for, and everybody's different on
Mhm.
what they want out of a dog.
I can definitely hear the passion that you have for, the canines. It's something that, does like I hear it in your voice.
Mhm.
Um, one of the questions I have is, did you have any pets when you were growing up?
So I had a couple pets, right, and
Mhm.
but I didn't really know about being a canine handler. Like I never really, like when I was little, was like, oh, I'm gonna be a canine handler. I
Mhm.
just always liked dogs
Sure.
and animals in general, but dogs mainly. And I don't know what it was about dogs. I just like dogs.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know. Cats are cool too, but they're not. I don't have a cat. I don't
The
have a
title
cat.
of this show is going to be "Cats Are Cool Too." I like
Sometimes, right? Yeah.
it. Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, for those that don't know, if they want to find out more
Mhm.
about the Georgia Canine Association, where would they go?
So you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. On our website is gpk9f.org. On Facebook and Instagram, YouTube, it's just Georgia Police Canine Foundation.
Mhm. Kyle, thanks for taking some time out of your day to
Yeah,
come
no
speak
problem.
with us. Is there anything else that you would like the audience to know?
No, I appreciate the invite, man. You have good content. So,
Thank you.
yes,
Thank
sir.
you. Well, thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Yes, sir. You
I
too.
appreciate it.